Hello and welcome to my review of the new game Imperator Rome. People have been asking me both here on YouTube and on Discord if they should buy the game, and so I decided to make a list of things I like and don't like in Imperator Rome. Keep this in mind, this review is for base game on release and I have about 30 hours in game right now. So some features and my opinions might evolve in future. With that said, let's get right into it. Map in Imperator Rome is the highlight of the game. It's just gorgeous and super detailed. I think there are close to 7,000 cities in game, which is a huge number compared to any other Paradox Grand Strategy titles. The devs have done a fairly good job on researching names of cities from that time period, and their application on the map and optimization is pretty good as well. The game has a lot of different map modes as expected, which are very helpful. There are some obvious map modes missing though. I would love to see a different map mode for government types and government ranks and diplomatic range, because you can only ally other nations who are your rank and within your diplomatic range, so clicking on each nation to check if you can ally them is not ideal. Another map mode I would like is for each pop type, in citizens, freemen, tribesmen and slaves. Currently there is a map mode for pops which is helpful, but I would like to know the pop distribution in a city as well. Another map I would like is for claims. As far as I can tell, you can't see claims on the map currently. You have to go to the diplomacy screen, then mouse over individual CBs, which is again not ideal. And while we are talking about maps and aesthetics, the game has support for 4K. Finally! I ranted about EU4 not supporting even 1440p in one of my earlier videos. So I'm really happy to see support for up to 4K resolution in game with UI scaling. This video is rendered in 1440p 60 though, so you won't be able to see the 4K details, but I will leave some screenshots in description, be sure to check that out. However, I have used 4K with all high settings and the game doesn't look drastically different or better. And so I have been playing the game at 1440p actually. That doesn't bother me though. I'm not expecting this game to have super high quality models and particles and animations. That's not why I'm playing this game. I'm just happy that it supports 4K, and so hopefully in future we will see even better unit models and things. I would also like to see an option to remove the clouds. It seems like they make the map a bit hazy. Maybe I'm just spoiled from using the thick borders mod in EU4, but I would love to see some less haziness and a more defined border in this game. And since I just dissed on unit models and animations, I must add that they still look very good and I'm happy with it. Next I want to mention something that has bothered me a lot, and that is the macro builder here. It just seems stunted. If you have played EU4, especially with Mandate of Heaven DLC, you will know how useful macro builder can be. A good macro builder can save so much time and unnecessary clicks, and in the current state of this game, the macro builder just feels underwhelming. I hope the devs are working on it and we will see something in future releases, but Paradox, if you hide a better macro builder behind a DLC, I'm going to be pissed. Another game mechanic that I have said is broken in EU4, and I know some of you don't believe me, but trust me, mercs are broken in EU4. So I'm really glad to see a change in Mercenary System in Imperator. Mercs in this game feel more balanced. Hiring them costs military power, that's your monarch points. They have 400% upkeep cost compared to regular troops, and you need to pay them extra when disbanding. So there's a definite nerf to mercs, and that is a good thing here. The mercs can also abandon your war if you don't have the money to pay them, or they might even switch sides, which I find hilarious. So far I like the merc mechanics in game, although there are so many standing merc armies that I wonder if it could snowball in a bad way in late game. We'll have to evaluate that in future. Combat is as expected, and I like it for most part. The sieges are more simplified when compared to EU4 as they don't have artillery. Although just a side note, I wish Rome got some bonus to sieges because historically they were masters of siege engineering for that time period. If you read Caesar's account for Gallic War, some of the things they did was amazing. Maybe it doesn't work for game balance as Rome is already OP, but I like my history, okay? I want to see that feature. Anyway, let's get back to the combat mechanics. I keep getting sidetracked talking about the classical time period. So combat is mostly good. There's this indicator that tells you if you're likely to win the war or not, and I have found it not always accurate. Some balancing might be needed there. Naval combat on the other hand is just very bland. I think devs are working on it and we might see some updates on that soonish, maybe even in 1.1 release. The armies also have a couple of new things. One is the battle stance or formations. You can choose your formation based on the army composition, and certain formations are better against others. It's a neat feature which adds another layer to combat, and I think it has the potential to evolve more in future, and I think using them will be even more fun in multiplayer games. Second is army objectives, which I find very useful. I love this feature. You can automate armies now, and not just for rebel suppression. There are a few other options, and you can actually let an army play as an AI would in a war. This will prove to be especially useful in mid to late game, as personally I don't like to micro around all my army stacks. How well the automated army performs is a question for another time, and we will know more about it in future. I haven't played enough late games to comment on it yet. There are some other things that I like about the game, such as the character interactions. I think the game does a good job of balancing the importance of characters in your nation and the geopolitics of the world. You need to pay some attention to the disloyal characters, but you don't have to spend a lot of time on them. I like that part. I love some of the events and flavors in game. I like the difficulty level so far as well. It feels fairly balanced. There's another feature I like, and that's barbarians. Barbarians can spawn randomly around impassable terrains, and they're more likely to spawn if the surrounding cities have low civilization level. I think it adds an extra factor you need to consider, and it sort of makes you pay more attention to the internal stability of your empire, which I think is a good idea. And then there are some things that I'm not a big fan of. Firstly, I think the game is a bit over-reliant on monarch points. Just a smudge. I feel you generate a ton of monarch points and you can do almost anything using monarch points. Although there are 4 categories now, compared to EU Force 3, we have military, civic, oratory and religious power, so that makes it a bit better, but I still think the use of monarch points needs a bit more balancing. Second is troop movement, and I have said this in my Armenia playthrough, army movement is so slow because there are so many cities in game. Now, I'm not complaining about the cities, I think those are awesome, but I do think army movement needs to be increased a tad bit. I understand the armies moved slower back in the day and it's realistic, but you have to think about the game balance as well. Right now, I'm inclined to play the game at speed 5 just because it takes so long for armies to move around, and I cannot imagine anyone playing the game at speed 1 or 2 at any point ever. Other minor thing is that all nations have the same set of national ideas, which makes it less appealing to play as different nations. And same goes for religion. But I think that's something primed for future DLCs. It just feels like something Paradox would do, and I'm not complaining about it. I think the base game is pretty good. The base game right now has a few bugs. If you guys have played it or saw the forum post or Reddit post, you'll have an idea of what's going on. But these bugs are not unexpected and I'm okay with it, as long as the bugs get fixed in the next patch. There is a serious issue though, and that is the stuttering issue, that even on my high-end PC, the game seemed to stutter when I unpause and pan or zoom, which is another bug I hope gets fixed soon. And the user interface is okay, it seems like it could be improved on. Which brings me to my last point, and that's modding. The devs have discussed modding in their dev diaries in detail, and it seems like the game is fully moddable, which makes me really excited because all the things that I don't like about the game right now that I have mentioned here can be fixed by some simple mods, which is amazing. I think they are going to see a lot of great mods from the community for this game, and I cannot wait to see what people come up with. So finally, the question of should you buy this game? Well, I don't know what games you like, but if you're watching this, you clearly have some interest in historical grand strategy games. I can tell you that I like this game. So if you like grand strategy games such as EU4 and CK2, and if you like classical time period of the Roman Republic era, and if you like resurrecting old empires such as Assyria and Phoenicia, and if you like map painting, which to be honest is really the crux of the game. It's very expansion focused at this point. If you like that, you should get the game. For me personally, the decision was simple because the classical age fascinates me and the gorgeous detailed map sold it for me. So I hope this short review will help you decide if you want to try the game or not. If you are still undecided, check out my other Imperator Rome videos, maybe that will help. Thank you for your time, you're watching a Radiorus video, and I'll see you all in the next one. This is an addendum. I made this review before the public release for game. The game just released, and I still stand by all of the points I made here. I hear some users are experiencing crashes and hopefully that will get fixed soon. I noticed one thing that I want to point out though. The game released with a DLC. A DLC on release? When Paradox fans have been so vocal about their DLC policy in all other games. Come on Paradox, why you do this? You could have included the DLC in the deluxe edition and sucked up the minor income loss for glowing reviews. But no, now we have to pay $7 extra for MP3 versions of the complete soundtrack. I don't know what to say. I don't have words. Why do you have to be like this? So close to being